The rain fell like tears from heaven as Martin stood outside the black iron gate, his clothes soaked through to his skin. He had traveled 6 hours by bus from the village, clutching a small bag that held everything he owned in this world. Now he stood before his father's mansion in Lagos, a house he barely remembered from his childhood. "Please," Martin called out to the security guard through the gate. "I just want to see my father. Chief Bernard is my father. I am his son." The guard looked at him with pity, but shook his head. "I have my orders, young man. Madam Cynthia said no visitors today, especially not you." Martin's heart sank. Cynthia, his stepmother, the woman who entered his father's life when Martin was only 12, shortly after his own mother passed away. She had seemed kind at first, but everything changed when his father sent him to live with his grandmother in the village for his education. That was 10 years ago. "But I received a message," Martin insisted, pulling out his old phone. "Someone called me. They said my father is very sick, that he's been asking for me. Please, I'm begging you." The gate remained shut. From the upstairs window of the mansion, Cynthia watched with cold eyes. She was a beautiful woman in her 40s, draped in expensive Ankara fabric and gold jewelry. Beside her stood her daughter, Regina, a spoiled 23-year-old who had never worked a day in her life. "Mama, is that really Papa's son?" Regina asked, wrinkling her nose. "He looks like a common village rat." "Don't call him that," Cynthia said, though her voice held no warmth. "He's your stepbrother after all." She paused, then smiled coldly. "But he will not step foot in this house, not while I'm still breathing." "But what if Papa asks for him?" Cynthia turned from the window. "Your papa is too weak to ask for anything. The doctor said he might not last the month. And when he's gone," she touched the diamond necklace at her throat, "everything here becomes ours. The last thing we need is that boy showing up to remind Bernard of his first wife." Outside, Martin tried again. "Please, just tell him I'm here. Just tell him Martin came. Let him decide if he wants to see me." The guard looked away, uncomfortable. "I'm sorry. I have a family to feed. If I disobey Madam Cynthia, I will lose my job." As Martin stood there, helpless and heartbroken, a black Mercedes pulled up to the gate. The guard immediately opened it. A well-dressed man in his 50s stepped out, Dr. Lawrence, the family physician. "Who is this?" the doctor asked, noticing Martin. "Nobody, sir," the guard replied quickly. "Just a beggar." "I'm not a beggar," Martin's voice cracked with emotion. "I am Chief Bernard's son. My name is Martin. Please, sir, if you're going to see my father, tell him I came. Tell him I want to see him before." "That's enough," the doctor said. But something in Martin's desperate eyes made him pause. "Wait here," he finally said, before driving through the gate. Martin waited. 1 hour, 2 hours. The rain continued to fall. His hope began to die like a candle flame in the wind. Finally, as darkness came, the guard brought him a message. "The doctor said your father is sleeping. Come back another day." Martin's shoulders sagged. He had no money for a hotel, no money for food. He would have to sleep at the bus station and return tomorrow. But something in his heart told him tomorrow might be too late. As he turned to leave, he didn't see Cynthia watching from the window, smiling with satisfaction. Sometimes, Martin whispered to himself, remembering his grandmother's words, "The people who should love you the most become the ones that block your blessings, but God sees everything." He walked away into the Lagos night, not knowing that his father, on his sick bed, had indeed been asking for him, not knowing that Dr. Lawrence had never delivered his message, not knowing that Cynthia had paid the doctor well to keep father and son apart. 3 days passed. Martin returned every morning to the gate, and every morning he was turned away. He stopped under the bridge near the bus station, washing himself at public taps, using the last of his money to buy pure water and bread. On the 4th day, something changed. Martin arrived at the gate as usual, but this time he had raised voices coming from inside the compound. Then the gate swung open and Dr. Lawrence rushed out, his face grave. Behind him came 2 nurses carrying medical equipment. Martin seized his chance. As the gate remained open for the doctor's car, he slipped inside. "Hey, stop!" the security guard shouted, but Martin was already running towards the house. He burst through the front door into a world he barely recognized. The house was filled with expensive furniture, crystal chandeliers, and photographs, but none of the photographs showed him, as if he had been erased from the family history. "Where is my father?" Martin shouted. "Papa! Papa!" Cynthia appeared at the top of the grand staircase, her face twisted with rage. "How dare you enter my house? God, get this rat out of here!" "This is my father's house," Martin shouted back. "I have every right to be here." "You have no rights." Cynthia descended the stairs like a queen addressing a peasant. "Your father sent you away years ago. He built a new life, a new family. You are nothing but the painful memory of a dead woman." The words struck Martin like physical blows, but he stood his ground. "Where is he? I know he's dying. I know he asked for me." Cynthia laughed, a cruel, cold sound. "Asked for you? Your father hasn't spoken your name in years. You think you are special because you share his blood. Look at yourself." She gestured at his worn clothes, his tired face. "You were nobody, a failure. While you were wasting away in the village, my daughter Regina was here, caring for him, loving him. She is the child of his heart now." Regina appeared behind her mother, smirking. "It's true. Papa loves me. He calls me his princess. You are just the son of his biggest mistake." Narrator's voice. If you are feeling the pain in Martin's heart, don't go yet. Subscribe to this channel because what happens next will shock you. The truth is coming and is bigger than anyone expected. Hit that subscribe button now. Martin felt tears burning his eyes, but he refused to let them fall. "I don't care what you say. I will see my father. Even if I have to stand here all day, all week, you will do no such thing." Cynthia snapped. She turned to the 3 security guards who had now gathered. "Remove him. And if he comes back, call the police. I will have him arrested for trespassing." The guards grabbed Martin's arms. He struggled, but he was weak from days without proper food, from sleeping in the cold. "Papa!" he cried as they dragged him towards the door. "Papa, I'm here. It's Martin, your son. Shut him up," Cynthia ordered. As they threw him out of the compound, Martin's body hit the hard pavement. Pain shot through his shoulder, but the pain in his heart was worse. The gate slammed shut with a sound like the closing of a tomb. A small crowd had gathered, attracted by the commotion. Martin sat on the ground, holding his injured shoulder, shame burning his face. "Hey, yeah, sorry, oh," a old woman said, looking at him with sympathy. "These rich people have no heart. They forget that we are all equal before God." "Is that really Chief Banner's son?" someone whispered. "See how they threw him out like rubbish. What kind of wickedness is this?" Inside the compound, Cynthia paced her bedroom, her phone pressed to her ear. "Yes, Barrister Thompson, it's urgent. I need you to prepare papers. If that boy comes back, I want a restraining order. Yes, I know it's expensive. Do it. I don't care what it costs." Regina watched her mother with admiration. "Mama, you are so strong. You are protecting our family." "Remember this lesson, Regina," Cynthia said, ending the call. "In this world, only the strong survive. Your papa is a good man, but he is weak, sentimental. If I had allowed that village boy into this house, he would have filled his head the stories about his dead mother, made him emotional, maybe even made him change his will. I cannot allow that." "Is Papa really going to die?" Regina asked, and for the first time, there was a hint of genuine fear in her voice. Cynthia's face softened slightly. "The doctor says his heart is very bad. It could be any day now." She pulled her daughter into an embrace. "But don't worry, my dear. I've made sure everything is taken care of. This house, the companies, the investment, everything will be ours. Chief Bernard's lawyer is my friend. The will is already written. That village boy will get nothing." What they never knew was that Dr. Lawrence, sitting in his car outside the compound, was having a crisis of conscience. He had taken Cynthia's money to keep quiet about Martin's visit, but watching that young man being thrown out like garbage had disturbed something deep inside him. He thought about his own son, about the importance of family, about the oath he had taken as a doctor to do no harm. He picked up his phone and made a call that would change everything. Martin spent that night under the bridge again, but he couldn't sleep. His shoulder ached. His stomach was empty. But worse than all of that was the emptiness in his heart. He pulled out his phone. The old Nokia his grandmother had given him before she died 2 years ago. The battery was at 5%. He scrolled through his contacts until he found a name: Uncle Wilson. Wilson had been his father's best friend years ago, before Cynthia entered their lives. Martin could barely remember him, but he had kept the number his grandmother had given him just in case. With trembling fingers, he dialed. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello?
A deep male voice answered. Uncle Wilson, Martin's voice cracked. This is Martin, Chief Bernard's son. I don't know if you remember me, but... Martin? There was shock in the voice. Small Martin? Bernard's boy? Yes, sir. My God. I thought, where are you? Are you all right? The concern in Uncle Wilson's voice broke something in Martin. The whole story poured out. How he'd received a message about his father being sick. How he traveled to Lagos. How Cynthia had blocked him from entering the house. How he'd been thrown out and humiliated. That woman, Wilson said, and Martin could hear the anger in his voice. That witch. Martin, listen to me carefully. Where are you right now? Under the bridge, near Ujoregwa. Stay there. I'm coming to get you. Don't move. 1 hour later, a silver Toyota pulled up, and Uncle Wilson stepped out, and Martin barely recognized him. The man had aged. His hair was now grey, but his eyes were still kind. My boy, Wilson said, pulling Martin into an embrace. Look at you. You look just like your father did at your age. Come, you must be hungry. He took Martin to a nearby restaurant. Nothing fancy, just a local buka. But to Martin, who hadn't had a proper meal in days, it was paradise. As he ate rice and stew, Wilson watched him with sad eyes. Your father loved you very much, you know. When your mother died, something broke in him. He couldn't look at you without seeing her face, remembering his loss. That's why he sent you to the village. Not because he didn't love you, but because the pain was too much. Then why did he never visit me? Why didn't he call? Write letters? Wilson sighed. Cynthia happened. That woman has a way of controlling everything around her. She convinced Bernard that you were better off in the village, that coming back and forth would only confuse you, disrupt your education. She said she would take care of everything. He paused. I tried to warn Bernard, but we had a falling out. He chose her over our friendship. I haven't spoken to him in 8 years. Uncle Wilson, what should I do? I just want to see my father before he dies. I want him to know that I forgive him, that I still love him. Wilson was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised Martin. There's someone you need to meet. Someone who has been watching over you, even though you didn't know it. But first, tell me, did your grandmother ever mention anything about your father's business? About his will? No, sir. Grandma just said that my father was a rich man, but that money doesn't matter. She said character is what matters. Your grandmother was a wise woman, but she didn't tell you everything. You see, your father isn't just rich, Martin. He's very, very wealthy. Chief Bernard owns 3 companies, 2 hotels, and properties across Nigeria. The man is worth billions of naira. Martin's eyes widened. I didn't know. I mean, I knew he had money, but... Cynthia knows. That's why she's keeping you away. She thinks if you see your father, he might remember your first son, might change his will. But what she doesn't know is that your father made 2 wills. 2 wills? Wilson nodded. The first one is with his current lawyer, Barrister Thompson, Cynthia's friend. That will gives everything to Cynthia and Regina. But there's a second will, the original will, the one your father wrote before he married Cynthia, when your mother was still alive. In that will, you are the primary beneficiary. Everything was meant for you. Martin felt dizzy. This was too much information. But how do you know this? Because I was there when he wrote it. I was one of the witnesses. Wilson leaned forward. That will is kept in a safety deposit box at First Bank. Your father gave me the key years ago, told me to hold it in case anything happened to him. I think he knew, even then, that Cynthia could not be trusted. So what do we do? Tomorrow morning, we go to the bank. We get that will, and then Wilson smiled grimly. Then we go see a lawyer of our own. A good one. Someone who can be bought. I know just the person, Barrister Clara. She's tough, honest, and she hates people who cheat the system. Martin felt hope stirring in his chest for the first time in days. But Uncle Wilson, I still need to see my father. The will doesn't matter if he dies thinking I abandoned him. I know, son, and we'll find a way. But first, we need to be smart. Cynthia has power right now because she controls access to the house. But if we can prove that you are the rightful heir, if we can show that there's another will, we'll have leverage. The police will have to let you in. The hospital will have to let you see him. That night, Martin slept on Uncle Wilson's couch, the first real bed he had in days. But sleep didn't come easy. His mind raced with questions. Who called him to tell him about his father's illness? How did they get his number? And most importantly, what will happen when Cynthia discovers that her plan to steal everything wasn't as secure as she thought? In his dreams, Martin saw his mother's face. She was smiling, telling him to be strong, telling him that justice was coming. He woke with tears on his face and a prayer on his lips. God, if you are listening, please, let me see my father one more time. That's all I ask. Just one more time. He didn't know that at that very moment, in the master bedroom of his father's mansion, Chief Bernard had woken from his sleep, calling out a name. Martin, my son, where is my son? And Dr. Lawrence, who had been keeping vigil, heard those words and made a decision that would change everything.
The next morning, Martin and Uncle Wilson sat across from Barrister Clara in her office in Victoria Island. She was a woman in her late 50s, with silver-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun, sharp eyes behind designer glasses, and a reputation for never losing a case. She listened to Martin's story without interrupting, her fingers stippled under her chin. When he finished, she turned to Wilson. You have the key to the safety deposit box? Wilson pulled out a small brass key. Right here. And you're certain Chief Bernard was of sound mind when he wrote the original will? Completely certain. His wife, Martin's mother, had just been diagnosed with cancer. Bernard wanted to make sure his son would be taken care of if anything happened to him. I was there with him and Barrister Festus, who wrote the will. Festus has since passed away, but I have all the documentation. Barrister Clara nodded slowly. This is a strong case, but we need to move quickly. If Chief Bernard dies before we can establish Martin's legal right as heir, Cynthia will have time to consolidate her position, hide assets, and make things very difficult. Can we go to the bank today? Martin asked desperately. Yes, but first, I need to be honest with you, young man. She looked directly at Martin. When we retrieve this will and present it, there will be a war. Cynthia will fight with everything she has. She will try to discredit you, claim the will is fake, maybe even accuse you of forging it. She will drag your mother's name through the mud. It will get ugly, very ugly. Are you prepared for that? Martin thought of his father, lying sick, calling for a son who couldn't reach him. He thought of his mother, who had loved him with everything she had. He thought of the years of separation, the humiliation at the gate, the way Regina had called him a mistake. I'm prepared, he said firmly. This isn't about the money. I don't care about the houses or the companies. I just want the right to see my father, to be acknowledged as his son. The money can go to charity for all I care. I just want my name back. Barrister Clara smiled for the first time. That's the right answer. But let me tell you something. The money is yours by right. Your father worked hard for it and he wanted you to have it. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for claiming what's yours. By noon, they were at the bank. The manager, Mr. Donatus, was initially suspicious, but when Wilson showed the key and the old document, his expression changed to one of shock. This is... I didn't know there was another will, he muttered,
pulling out a thick envelope from the safety deposit box. Chief Bernard opened this box 20 years ago. He's never accessed it since. Can we see it? Barrister Clara asked. They moved to a private room. Clara opened the envelope with careful hands. Inside was a document, still sealed, with Chief Bernard's signature and 2 witnesses, Wilson's and the late Barrister Festus's. As Clara read through it, her eyebrows rose. This is ironclad. Everything, and I mean everything, is left to Martin. The properties, the businesses, the investments. There's a provision for any future wives to receive a monthly allowance, but the assets themselves cannot be touched. It specifically states that Martin is the sole heir and executor of the estate. What does that mean? Martin asked. It means that even if your father married Cynthia, even if he had other children, this will supersede any other arrangement. Unless he specifically wrote another will revoking this one, and he would have needed to reference this document to do so, this is the valid will. Wilson leaned back in his chair, a grim smile on his face. Bernard was smarter than I thought. He protected his son even from beyond the grave. Can we use this to get me into the house? Martin asked. To see my father? Clara thought for a moment. Not directly. The will only matters after death. But what we can do is file an injunction. We can go to court and request immediate access based on your right as a biological son. It won't be instant, but I can fast-track it. Given the urgency, your father's health, we might get a ruling within days. Days? Martin's face fell. He might not have days. Then we need to try another approach, Wilson said. We need an ally on the inside, someone in that house who has a conscience. As if on cue, Clara's phone rang. She answered it, her expression growing more interested by the second. When she hung up, she looked at Martin with something like excitement. That was Dr. Lawrence. He is Chief Bernard's physician. He said he needs to speak with you urgently. He said he can't keep quiet anymore about what is happening in that house. They met the doctor at a coffee shop in Ikeja. Dr. Lawrence looked haggard, like a man who hadn't slept properly in days. I took her money, he said without preamble, looking at Martin. Madam Cynthia paid me 50,000 naira to never tell your father that you came to the house. She threatened to ruin my practice if I told him. I'm ashamed to say I took it because I have debts, medical school loans for my children. He put his head in his hands. But I can't live with this anymore. Your father keeps asking for you. Every day he wakes up and says, has Martin come? Where is my son? And every day, Madam tells him you don't care, that you never came. That witch, Wilson growled. There's more, Lawrence continued. Last night, Chief Bernard had another heart episode, a bad one. I had to resuscitate him. When he came to, he was crying. He said he had a dream about your mother. He said she was angry with him for abandoning you. He begged me to find you, to bring him to him. He said he wanted to apologize before he died, to tell you the truth about everything. What truth? Martin asked, leaning forward. Lawrence hesitated. He said that Cynthia manipulated him, that she isolated him from his old friends, from anyone who might remind him of his first marriage. He said he was weak, that he let grief turn him into a coward. He wants to change his will, Martin. He wants to make things right. But Madam Cynthia won't let me bring a lawyer to the house. She's blocked everyone. She's waiting for him to die. Can you get Martin into the house? Clara asked sharply. As the doctor, you have access. Can you smuggle him in? I could try, but if Madam finds out, she'll... What's she going to do? Wilson interrupted. She's not a goddess. She's just a greedy woman who is about to lose everything. Doctor, you said you can't live with this guilt. Here is your chance to make it right. Get Martin to his father. Let them see each other one last time. That's all we're asking. Lawrence was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Tomorrow morning. I do my rounds at 6 a.m. before Madam wakes up. The security guards know me, so they won't question why I'm there. I can bring Martin in with me. Take him to your father's room. You'll have maybe 15-20 minutes before anyone notices. That's enough, Martin said, his voice thick with emotion. 20 minutes is enough. I just need to tell him I love him, that I forgive him, that I'm here. As they left the coffee shop, Martin felt his heart pounding. Tomorrow he will finally see his father after 10 years long. But in the mansion, Cynthia was making plans of her own. She had noticed Dr. Lawrence's strange behavior, his guilty looks. She suspected something was wrong. Regina, she called to her daughter. I need you to do something for me tomorrow morning. I need you to watch the doctor, follow him. I think he's planning something. What do you think he's doing, Mama? Cynthia's eyes narrowed. I think someone has gotten to him. Someone has convinced him to betray us. And if I'm right, tomorrow morning will be very interesting indeed. She smiled, but it was the smile of a cobra about to strike.
Martin couldn't sleep that night. He sat on Uncle Wilson's balcony, watching the Lagos skyline, rehearsing what he would say to his father. How do you compress 10 years of pain, loneliness, and forgiveness into 20 minutes? At 5 a.m., Dr. Lawrence's car pulled up outside. Martin climbed in, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might burst from his chest. Remember, Lawrence said as they drove toward the mansion, stay calm, don't raise your voice, don't make noise. Your father's room is on the 2nd floor, last door on the right. I'll take you up through the back stairs, the servants' entrance. Most of the staff doesn't come in until 7. What about the security guards? I've already called ahead, told them I need to check on Chief Bernard early because his blood pressure was high last night. They won't question it. As they approached the gate, Martin ducked low in the back seat, his mouth dry with fear and anticipation. The gate opened, the car rolled through. They were inside. Lawrence parked near the back entrance. Quickly now. They moved through the quiet house like shadows. Martin noticed everything. The marble floors his mother must have chosen, the high ceilings, the paintings on the walls. This had been his home once, though he barely remembered it. At the top of the stairs, Lawrence paused. Your father is very weak. Don't be shocked by how he looks. The illness has taken a lot from him. He opened the door. The room was dark, lit only by the early morning light filtering through heavy curtains. Medical equipment beeped softly. And there, in the center of a massive bed, lay a man who looked like a skeleton covered in skin. Martin's breath caught. This couldn't be his father. His father had been strong, tall, with a booming laugh. This man looked like death itself. Papa? The word came out as a whisper. The figure in the bed stirred. His eyes opened. Eyes that Martin remembered. Eyes that still held a spark of life. Who? Chief Bernard's voice was so weak. Is someone there? Martin moved closer, tears already streaming down his face. Papa, it's me. It's Martin, your son. Chief Bernard's eyes widened. His hand, thin and trembling, reached out. Martin, my Martin, is it really you or am I dreaming again? It's really me, Papa. I'm here. I came as soon as I heard you were sick. You came. Tears began to roll down the old man's face. My son came. I thought, Cynthia said you didn't want to see me. She said you hated me for sending you away. I never hated you, Papa. I was hurt, yes. I didn't understand why you left me in the village for so long. But I never stopped loving you. Grandma told me to forgive you, to understand that grief makes people do strange things. Chief Bernard began to sob, deep, racking sobs that shook his frail body. I'm sorry, my son. I'm so sorry. When your mother died, I couldn't look at you without seeing her face. The pain was too much. I thought sending you away would help me forget, would help me heal. But all I did was lose both of you, my wife and my son. I'm here now, Papa. I've been such a fool, Bernard continued. Cynthia, she seemed so kind at first. She helped me through the grief, but then she started to change. She isolated me from my friends, from everyone who knew your mother. She made me believe you were better off without me, that I would only bring you pain. I believed her lies because I was weak. Papa, don't cry, please. I need to tell you something, son. Something important. Bernard struggled to sit up and Martin helped him. The lawyer, our lawyer,
Barrister Thompson. Cynthia brought him. He wrote a new will, giving everything to her and Regina. But it's wrong, Martin, all wrong. There's another will, the real will, the one I wrote when your mother was alive. Everything is yours. The houses, the businesses, all of it. I never cancelled that will. I never wanted to. Papa, I know. Uncle Wilson told me. We found the will. Wilson? You found Wilson? Thank God. That means Cynthia's plan has failed. She thought she was so clever, keeping you away from me, waiting for me to die. But God is not asleep. Justice is coming. Papa, I don't care about the money, but I care. Bernard's voice grew stronger, passionate. That money is yours by right. Your mother and I worked hard for it. We built those businesses together before the cancer took her. She made me promise that everything would go to you. I broke so many promises to her, Martin, but I won't break this one. You are my heir. You are my legacy. The door suddenly burst open. Cynthia stood there with Regina behind her. Her face was twisted with rage so intense she looked like a different person. What is this? She shrieked. How did you get in here? Guards! Guards! Cynthia, stop, Chief Bernard said in a voice weak but firm. Martin is my son. He has every right to be here. Your son? Cynthia laughed bitterly. This village rat. Look at him. He's nothing. He's nobody. I am your wife. Regina is your daughter. We are your family now. You were never my family, Bernard said, and the coldness in his voice made even Martin shiver. You were my mistake, my biggest regret. I see it now how you manipulated me, isolated me from my friends, from everyone who knew your mother. You made me believe you were better off without me, that I would only bring you pain. I believed her lies because I was weak. Out? Cynthia's eyes widened. This is my house. You married me. You can't just throw me out. This house belongs to Martin. Everything does. The original will still stands. Cynthia's face went pale. You are lying. You're just emotional because this beggar boy came here with his crocodile tears. You're confused, Bernard. You're sick. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I am saying. Bernard turned to Dr. Lawrence, who had been standing quietly in the corner. Doctor, please call Barrister Clara. Tell her to come immediately. Tell her I want to sign a new statement, confirming my original will and revoking anything Thompson wrote. No! Cynthia lunged forward, but Martin stepped between her and the bed. Get out of my way, you useless boy. Don't speak to my son that way, Bernard said. Guards, get her out of my room. The security guards who had rushed upstairs now stood at the door, confused. They had always taken orders from Madame Cynthia, but now Bernard, their actual employer, was giving different orders. Sir, one of them asked uncertainly. Remove her, Bernard repeated, and bring me my phone. I need to call my lawyer, the real one. Cynthia realized she was losing control. Her face crumpled and she began to cry, huge dramatic sobs. Bernard, how can you do this to me? After everything I've done for you, I've taken care of you. I've been here every day. And this boy, where was he? He abandoned you. He didn't abandon me, Bernard shouted, and the effort made him cough. You kept him away. You lied to both of us. You poisoned my mind against my own son because you wanted my money. Well, you won't get it. Not 1 naira. Regina, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. Papa Bernard, please, I thought you loved me. You called me your princess. There was genuine hurt in her voice, and for a moment, Bernard's expression softened. Regina, I do care for you, child, but your mother has done terrible things. She's used both of us, you and me, for her own greed. Don't listen to him, Cynthia snapped, her tears vanishing as quickly as they had come. He's old, confused. That village boy has brainwashed him. Enough! Martin's voice rang out, surprising everyone, including himself. Madam Cynthia, stop lying, stop manipulating. It is over. My father sees you for who you are now. We all do. She turned to him, her eyes full of hatred. You think you've won? You think this is over? I'll fight you in every court in Nigeria. I'll drag your dead mother's name through the mud. I'll make sure everyone knows what a pathetic failure you are. And I will make sure that everyone knows what a thief you are," came a new voice from the doorway. Barrister Clara walked in with Uncle Wilson and 2 police officers. "Cynthia Adeola," she said formally, "I have here a court order granting Martin access to his father, and these officers are here to ensure there's no further interference. Additionally, we filed a complaint for fraud, elder abuse, and attempted theft. You have the right to remain silent, but anything you say can and will be used against you." The room fell silent. Cynthia looked from Clara to the police officers to Bernard, understanding finally dawning in her eyes that this battle was lost. "This isn't over," she whispered, but her voice held no more power. She was just a woman who had gambled everything and lost. As the police escorted her from the room,
The days that followed were like a storm finally breaking into calm. Barrister Clara walked swiftly. Within 48 hours, she had secured a court injunction that not only granted Martin full access to his father, but also froze all of Chief Bernard's accounts pending investigation into Cynthia's financial activities. What they discovered shocked everyone. For the past 8 years, Cynthia had been slowly draining Chief Bernard's wealth. She had created fake companies in Regina's name, transferred properties to offshore accounts, and forged Bernard's signature on documents, selling valuable assets far below their worth to her own relatives. She stole over 200 million naira, Clara reported to Martin and Wilson in Bernard's study. "Maybe more, we're still investigating." Martin sat in his father's favorite chair, still unable to believe everything that had happened. His father was upstairs resting. The doctor said that the emotional reunion actually helped him. Knowing his son was back, knowing the truth was finally revealed, had given Bernard a reason to fight. "What will happen to her?" Martin asked. "Prison, most likely. The evidence is overwhelming. She will be charged with fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Regina too, though she will probably get a lighter sentence since she was manipulated by her mother." "I feel sorry for Regina," Martin admitted. "She is not evil like her mother. She's just spoilt, misguided." "You have a good heart, Martin. Not many people would feel sympathy for someone who treated them so badly." The door opened and Dr. Lawrence entered. "Martin, your father is asking for you." Martin climbed the stairs to his father's room. Bernard was sitting up in bed now, looking stronger than he had days ago. His eyes lit up when Martin entered. "My son, come, sit with me." Martin sat beside the bed and Bernard took his hand. "I've asked Barrister Clara to bring the original will. I want to read it with you, want you to understand everything that is yours. But more than that, I want to talk about what comes next." "Papa, you need to rest." "I've rested enough. Listen to me now." Bernard's grip tightened. "The businesses, the properties, they are yours, but they are also a responsibility. Your mother and I built them not just to make money, but to create jobs, to help communities. Promise me you won't just sell everything off. Promise me you will learn the businesses, grow them, use them to help others." "Papa, I don't know anything about running companies." "You will learn. Wilson will help you. I will teach you while I still can. And yes, the doctors say I might have a few more years if I take better care of myself." He smiled. "Having you back has given me a reason to live, son. I want to make up for the lost time. I want to teach you everything I know." "I'd like that, Papa." "There's something else." Bernard reached for an envelope on his bedside table. "This is for you. It's letters your mother wrote before she died, one for every birthday you would celebrate without her. She made me promise to give them to you when you turn 25. You are 22 now, but I think it's time." Martin's hands trembled as he took the envelope. "Mama wrote these?" "Read them when you are alone. She loved you so much, Martin. Everything she did, everything she sacrificed was for you." Later that evening, Martin sat in the garden, the same garden where his mother used to grow roses. He opened the first letter with shaking hands. "My dearest Martin, if you are reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. My heart breaks knowing I won't see you grow into the man I know you will become. But I want you to know something important. You are loved, not just by me, but by God, by your father, by everyone whose life you touch. Life will not always be easy.
There will be people who will try to hurt you, who will try to take what is yours. But remember this, kindness is not weakness. Forgiveness is not foolishness. The strongest people are those who choose love even when hate seems easier. Your father is a good man, but he's not perfect. If he makes mistakes, forgive him. He loves you more than his own life, even if he doesn't always show it well. Be humble, Martin. No matter how much money you have, no matter how successful you become, remember that we are all equal before God. The beggar on the street is your brother. The orphan is your sister. Use whatever blessings God gives you to lift others up. I'm so proud of you, my son. I'll be watching over you always, praying for you, loving you from heaven. Your mama, Grace. Martin wept. He wept for his mother, for the lost years with his father, for everything that had been stolen from him. But he also wept with relief, with joy, because finally, he was home.
3 months later, the courtroom was packed. People from all over Lagos had come to witness the trial of Cynthia Adeola, the woman who had tried to steal a dying man's empire. Martin sat in the front row beside his father, who was looking healthier now, though he still used a cane. Uncle Wilson sat on his other side, and Barrister Clara stood at the prosecutor's table, her face stern and focused. Cynthia sat at the defendant's table, her expensive clothes and jewelry replaced with a simple prison uniform. Regina sat in the public gallery crying quietly. Her mother wouldn't even look at her. The judge, Justice Gideon, was known for his fairness and his intolerance for corruption. Madam Cynthia Adeola, he began, you have been found guilty on all counts: fraud, forgery, elder abuse, and theft. The evidence against you is overwhelming. You systematically stole from your husband, manipulated his son, and attempted to hijack an entire estate that didn't belong to you. Cynthia stood, her head high, refusing to show remorse even now. Before I pass sentence, the judge continued, does the victim wish to make a statement? Chief Bernard stood slowly, leaning on his cane. Martin tried to help him, but Bernard waved him off. He needed to do this on his own. Your Honor, Bernard began, his voice carrying across the courtroom. This woman took advantage of my grief, my loneliness, my weakness. She drove a wedge between me and my only son. She stole money that was meant to provide for future generations, for scholarship for poor children, for medical care for the sick. But more than the money, she stole time. 10 years I could have spent with my son. 10 years of memories we can never get back. He turned to look at Cynthia directly. I want you to know that I don't hate you. I pity you. You had everything, a home, security, respect, and you threw it away because of greed. You could have been content with what you had, but you wanted it all. And now you have nothing. He turned back to the judge. I ask for the maximum sentence allowed by law, Your Honor, not for revenge, but for justice, so that others who might think of doing such evil will know there are consequences. Justice Gideon nodded. Cynthia Adeola, I hereby sentence you to 15 years in prison without the possibility of early parole. You will also be required to repay every naira you stole with interest. Cynthia finally broke. She collapsed into her chair, sobbing. I just wanted security. I just wanted to take care of my daughter. You wanted greed, the judge corrected, and now you will pay for it. Take her away. As the guards let Cynthia out, she looked back one last time at Regina, who was crying in the gallery. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. But Regina turned away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Martin and his father. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward. Mr. Martin, how do you feel about the verdict? Chief Bernard, will you reconcile with your wife? What's next for the Bernard family? Martin raised his hand,
and the crowd quieted. I want to say something. This case was never about revenge. It was about truth. My stepmother made terrible choices, and now she has to face the consequences. But I hope that somewhere in those 15 years, she finds redemption. I hope she learns that real wealth isn't in bank accounts, it's in relationships, in integrity, in peace of mind. As for me and my father, we're just grateful to have each other back. We're going to use our blessings to help others. We're starting the foundation in my mother's name, the Grace Bernard Foundation, to help orphans and widows, to provide education for poor children, to support families torn apart by circumstances. A reporter called out, "Do you forgive your stepmother?" Martin was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm learning to. Forgiveness isn't easy, and it's not instant. But I know my mother would want me to forgive. She taught me that holding grudges only poisons your own heart." Chief Bernard put his arm around his son's shoulders. "I failed my son for many years, but God gave me a second chance. Not everyone gets that. I won't waste it, and I won't let anyone come between us again." 1 year later, the Grace Bernard Foundation had just opened its 5th orphanage. Martin stood at the ribbon cutting ceremony, watching as children who had been homeless just months ago, ran and played in their new home. His father stood beside him, healthy now, his heart strengthened by proper treatment and by the joy of reconciliation. "Your mother will be so proud," Bernard whispered. This is exactly what she dreamed of. Uncle Wilson approached with a young man in tow. "Martin, I want you to meet Jerome. He's just graduated top of his class in business administration. Full scholarship from your foundation." Jerome shook Martin's hand enthusiastically. "Thank you, sir. Without the foundation, I would still be on the streets. You changed my life." "Don't thank me," Martin said. "Thank God, and thank my mother, who taught me that blessings are meant to be shared." As the ceremony continued, Martin's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Sir, my name is Rita. I am currently sleeping under the bridge in Ojuelegba with my 2 children. Someone told me about your foundation. Can you help us? I am desperate." Martin smiled. He remembered sleeping under that same bridge not so long ago. He remembered the desperation, the fear, the feeling of being invisible. He typed back, "Send me your location. Help is coming." That evening, Martin stood on the balcony of his father's house. His house now, though he still thought of it as his father's house. He looked out at the Lagos skyline and thought about everything that had happened. He thought about the humiliation at the gate, the nights of hunger, the pain of rejection. He thought about Cynthia's cruelty, Regina's scorn, and the way people had looked at him like he was nothing. But he also thought about the lessons learned, about patience, about faith, about the importance of truth and justice. His father put his arm around his son's shoulders. "What are you thinking about, son?" "About how God works, Papa. How he took the worst moments of my life and turned them into something beautiful. If Cynthia didn't block me from seeing you, if things had been easy, maybe we wouldn't have discovered her theft. Maybe she would have succeeded in stealing everything. Maybe the truth would never have come out." Bernard nodded. Sometimes, God allows us to go through valleys so that we can appreciate the mountaintop and so that we remember where we came from. Promise me, you will never forget what it felt like to stand outside that gate, Martin. Promise me you will never become like Cynthia, so focused on wealth that you forget your humanity. "I promise, Papa." They stood together in comfortable silence, father and son, watching the sun set over Lagos. And somewhere in the city, Rita and her children were being picked up by the foundation workers, taken to safety, giving hope, just as Martin had been given hope when he needed it most.